Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. That's me, by the way. I want to talk today about the Strangeways prison, and it's been condemned. Apparently unfit for human habitation. Well, I could have told them that in 1975. It's an absolute dump. But listen, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. First of all, please do like and subscribe, and don't forget, give me your comments, insults, requests, points to raise, anything you want. Put it down below, and as you notice, I will reply. And I'm going to talk today about that big problem we've got. Apparently there's been an inspection of Strangeways prison, and it was found to be infested with mice, rats, filth, dirt, uninhabitable, and unfit for purpose. The problem is, who is running the show? Well, who's running the show? It's the Home Office, the Ministry of Justice, and quite frankly, I can see that they don't give a flying one. But they have a duty of responsibility. I mean, this isn't a third world dungeon. This is a prison in a modern, massive city. Manchester is a massive city now. Go have a look. It's full of skyscrapers. It's vibrant. It's got a really good mayor in Andy Burnham. And Andy Burnham wants to destroy Strangeways prison, remove it, wipe the blot on the landscape off the mat, and to restructure the entire Cheetham Hill Road and all that area down Bury New Road, which consists of Victorian warehouses, factories, mills, ex-mills, they're not mills anymore, and to turn it into a modern day city, which we can't stand in the way of progress. I believe that Strangeways prison wasn't fit for use 50 years ago, and today it's deteriorated even further. I mean, it's massively overcrowded, it's infested with vermin, they can't get staff to work there, they're terribly short of staff, and to solve this problem, the government, in its wisdom, by the way, has resorted to the hostess system. That's where they get young girls to go in. Now, when I worked in the prisons, I mean, I don't want to keep harking back to the bad old days, because they weren't the good old days, let me tell you that. But if we look at the bad old days when I started there, you had to be 21 years of age, you had to be of a certain height, a certain weight, and you had to have your chest expansion had to meet certain standards, and you were put through physical training. Not today. Today you can be an 18-year-old female, straight out of college, and you get yourself a big hat, a set of keys, and in you go. They don't even interview on a face-to-face basis. They do it over the internet. I mean, how disgraceful is that? Go back in time, and it was vetting, virtually extremely serious vetting. In my case, I had to produce written references from every single employer I'd ever had from leaving school. Plus, I had to produce a written reference from a notable member of the public. In my case, I had the CEO of a complex of industrial complex, who was a master mason, who I happen to know as a member of my family friends, and he wrote me a reference. So I was recommended by the Masons, and I've never actually trusted them since. But he was a very nice guy. So they're not all in it just for them damn selves. The trouble is that with the Freemasons, a lot of them do use it to cover up their misdemeanours. We've only got to look at the likes of Jimmy Savile. And Jimmy Savile was a 33rd degree Mason. He was highly connected, and he was protected. I mean, what other individual have you heard of that has had over 50 references from the police to the Crown Prosecution Service recommending prosecution, only to have the prosecution quashed and said there's insufficient evidence? You've got 50 complaints going in. I mean, you'd think, hang on, one or two, it's possible that there's been a mistake. 50? No. And look at Mohammed Fayyad, yeah? There's about 70, 80 women come forward now. He was a regular serial rapist. People complained. It went absolutely nowhere. Why did it do that? You've got to ask yourself, is there one rule for them and one rule for us? Yes. So back to Strangeways. Right, it's a complete dump. I believe it's going to be turned into a museum. They'll knock it all down except the gate lodge and a building for a museum. They'll probably keep the ventilation tower, which is a hell of a dangerous thing, by the way. I've been up it. Right to the top. Well, not obviously at the top, but I've been right to the structure outside and standing on that. It's quite incredible. But getting up there, whoa, very dangerous. You read about it in my book. I think it's in the second book, yeah. And it was terrifying, that. It starts as a circular staircase going round, spiral staircase going round the inside of the actual walls of the ventilation tower. And it starts off at about 2 foot wide with an iron railing. So you think, it's all right, not a problem here. Just walk up to the top. You get about 50 steps up and the railing disappears and the steps step in from being 2 foot wide to being about 14 inches wide. And you're up and you're heading up. Are you going down? I went all the way up to the top. When I got there, I had pressed my back to the wall. I was covered in filth. But I mean, I managed to get there. That's how I got the lightning conductor, which I previously showed on this site, because when they were refurbishing it, they knocked all the old lightning conductors, cast iron lightning conductors and all that down, and I got the one off the very top, and I've got it on my desk as a paperweight, so to speak. But it's a memento of, and it was put there in 1868. So that lightning conductor has looked down on all the hangings, 100 hangings at Strangeways. And on this site here, I'm going to be doing a talk, individually, one at a time, about all the crimes of the murderers that were hanged at Strangeways jail. So if you like that idea, please do leave me a little comment down below, and I'll be delighted to feature your specific murderer of choice. If you want to do it in that order, I'll be delighted to do it. So that's today's news. They're condemning Strangeways prisoners unfit for human habitation. They need to address this, because you can surely not, in this day and age, 21st century, we're a quarter of a way in virtually, and we're still using Victorian dungeons infested with rats and locking people up, massively overcrowded. This place, the Strangeways, was built for 975 men. It now holds somewhere in the region of about 1,500. When I was there, at one time, it held over 2,000 inmates. There was no room in the cells, so they put them into the gymnasium complex, and they slept on the floors, on mattresses on the floor. That's what the Home Office and the Ministry of Justice will do, because when it comes to actually treating prisoners, they don't give a flying one. And as for dealing with staff, well, they just are treating the staff as replaceable. The turnover is absolutely ridiculously high. Most staff do no more than 18 months, 2 years, and then they're replaced by the next hostess brigade. And it's all falling to pieces. Time now for change. Andy Burnham is stating that he wants it completely cleared. I believe that he's right about that. I've not a lot of time for Andy Burnham's politics because I was responsible for writing a big article about Andy Burnham when he was the Labour MP for a town called Lee, which is just outside Wigan. And the Council of Lee and Wigan decided that they were going to stop all overtime payments to their staff, all the staff that work for Wigan at Lee County Council. No overtime payments. They had to work overtime, but they will be paid on an annual basis. So that meant they could do, if they were scheduled to do 32 hours, they'd do the 32 hours. And if they needed them to do an extra 8-10 hours, then they'd do that, but they wouldn't get paid until the end of the year. So I wrote an article about this, and it was published in one of the national press, because I was a feature editor of a newspaper, and I actually had a copy of that delivered to Andy Burnham. I give him his due, within 7 days, that decision had been rescinded, and they were back to being paid overtime. You can't treat workers like that. And that was a Labour Party, Labour government, Labour Party MP, and a Labour council, and that's what they were going to do to their workers. What is this government going to do to you? We're about to find out on the 30th of October. Anyway, it's that time of day, folks. You've got it. It's the Song Dinger. There we are. It's back, folks. That's a warning for all you people who are extra sensitive to my version of singing, but I'm going to sing you something that's in tune with today's theme of filthy, dirty, overcrowded, rat-infested prisons. And this is a song by Brendan Behan that was performed by the Dubliners, and it's called The Old Triangle. It's about Mountjoy Jail in Dublin, the canal that runs alongside Mountjoy Jail. And in the prison they didn't have a bell, they had a big triangle, and they used to bang the old triangle to actually announce unlock and lock up and all the rest of it. This is by Brendan Behan, who was a very famous playwright, actually served time in Walton Jail in Liverpool. The Old Triangle. Are you sitting comfortably? I'm going to bugger that up for you. A hungry feeling came o'er me stealing, and the mice were squealing in my prison cell, and the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. To begin the morning, a screw is bawling, get up, you bowsy, and clean up your cell. And the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. The lags were sleeping, Humpy Gussie was creeping, as I lay there weeping for my gal Sal. And the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. Up in the female prison there's 75 women, 'tis among them I wish I did dwell. Then the old triangle could go jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. There you have it. The Old Triangle, written by Brendan Behan. One of his books was called Borstal Boy. You probably know about that. Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Please do like and subscribe. Get my books, folks. There's a link down there.